Hello learners, I hope you are still safe. I'm still Teacher Hilda, your literature in English teacher for Senior 6. I want to remind you that this program is brought to you by the Rwanda Education Board in partnership with MasterCard and IEE, which is Inspire, Educate and Empower Rwanda. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Rwanda, in a bid to contain the spread of the virus, schools were closed in March and they are still closed. So we have to study from home, maybe until September 2020. So we are looking at the text and mole farm. And we have looked at the biography of the author, who is George Orwell. We have looked at the plot summary of the text. We looked at how events follow each other in the text. And as I had earlier promised, we are going to summarize chapter by chapter. And today we are going to summarize chapter 1. So in chapter 1, it starts when the owner of the Manor Farm, Mr. Jones, locks his hen house for the evening, but he's too drunk to remember to shut everything before he goes to bed. So as soon as the lights are off in the farmhouse, the animals all stare up and make their way to the big barn, where the old boer, old Major, wants to address everyone. So old Major lies on a raised platform. The 3 dogs and all the pigs come in first and settle right in front of the platform. The hens and the pigeons pitch in windows and the rafters. The sheep and the cows settle behind the pigs. And Boxer and Clover, the cart horses, lie down in the back. So Clover settles a brood of orphan ducklings in the crook of her legs as the cantankerous old donkey, Benjamin, and the goat Muriel join the horses. So the foolish mare, Molly, shares her braided and berry-boned mane while she munches sugar. The cat finds the warmest spot between Boxer and Clover. The cat doesn't listen to old Major at all. Saying that everyone but old Moses, the tame raven, is present, old Major begins. So he addresses everyone as comrades and announces that he is going to die soon, but wants to share his wisdom and a dream he had with everyone before he dies. So he says that the nature of their lives is bad, is not good. They only get enough food to keep them going, and once they are no longer useful, Mr. Jones kills them. So animals, he insists, are slaves, though they don't have to be. Manor Farm would support many animals comfortably if only humans didn't steal the products of their labor. So if they remove man, they won't be hungry or overworked. The old Major insists that humans are the only creatures who consume without producing anything, like milk, eggs, among other things. So he asks the animals to consider all they have given up, from gallons of milk to hundreds of eggs, to Clover's 4 foals, gone forever. So old Major points out that Mr. Jones butchers pigs, will someday sell Boxer to the glue factory. When he can't work, when Boxer can't work, he will be sold to the glue factory, and drowns dogs when they get too old. So man, old Major suggests, is the root of all evil. So getting rid of all men through rebellion would free the animals. The animals would be free. And old Major insists that the rebellion would come in due course. So he warns everyone that they can't entertain the idea that humans and animals have common interests. They must believe that all men are enemies and all animals are comrades. Suddenly, the dogs catch sight of 4 rats listening in and chases them back to their holes. Old Major calls for silence and insists that they must vote on whether wild animals are enemies or comrades. The assembly, of course, votes overwhelmingly in favor of wild animals as being comrades. So only the cat and the dog don't vote no. But some discover later that the cat voted on both sides. So Old Major insists again that they can't forget that man is their enemy, but they also can't ever come to resemble man by drinking alcohol, sleeping in beds, or trading. They also say that animals cannot sterilize each other as they are all equal. So Old Major says that all animals are equal. Old Major explains that he's going to teach everyone a song that his mother taught him long ago. And the song is called Beast of England. And it speaks of a golden future in which animals will be free from human tyranny. So all the animals, both the highly intelligent and the less intelligent, learn it quickly and they sing it all together 5 times through. They only stop when Mr. Jones shoots his gun into the side of the barn, breaking the meeting. So that is what chapter 1 is about.
Come along and play with us.
I want to make an analysis of this chapter 1. I want us to analyze chapter 1. To begin with, all animals exist under Mr. Jones' somewhat totalitarian regime. And therefore, they are somewhat equal footing at this point. Remember, they are all equal. However, I want you to pay attention to the way in which the animals arrange themselves. The pigs and the dogs go to the front, and that naturally suggests that they already hold an important place on the farm. While the fact that a pig is giving this speech is another indication that these two species are somehow superior to the others. So in this sense, this presents the beginning of class distinction on the farm. So Molly and the cat are representative of middle class who, prior to the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, were already pretty comfortable with their lot of life. So as presented by Molly's ability to obtain sugar and the cat's beeline for the best, warmest spot and lack of interest in what happens. Remember, he is not actually listening at all to what Old Major is saying. So everything that Old Major says paints a horrific picture of what life is like on the farm, how they are suffering. His speech as a whole mirrors the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, in that the problem is the ruling class and the lower class are allowing themselves to be subjected. Man is the one ruling the animals, and that the animals are subjecting themselves to the harsh rule of man. So what do they want to do? They want to be independent. And again, the idea that humans are the only creatures who don't produce anything is a direct parallel to the Communist Manifesto, as Marx proposes that the real evil is that people don't get to enjoy the fruits of their own labor. Rather, they make chairs or farms for others who then profit off their labor. So I want you to notice that Old Major uses absolutes when he warns the animals that they cannot ever think that animals and humans might be able to work together. This means that if the animals take this seriously, there will be little room for the nuance. Despite the absolute language Old Major uses, it is important to keep in mind his warning that once the animals achieve a revolution, they cannot come to resemble those who once oppressed them. And who is that? Man, like human. With this, he alludes to the idea that revolution and rebellion are, to a degree, good, normal for who to seize power or to want to have all of it, while also warning everyone to be on the lookout for corruption. So Beast of England represents the unifying power of language. Every animal, no matter how smart, can learn it, rally around it, and take heart in its revolutionary content. However, note that it idealizes the coming revolution, which leaves little room for realities of humans or animals' nature to complicate things. So that is all about chapter 1. So chapter 1 introduces us to Old Major. He has called a meeting and all the animals have gathered. He is telling the animals that it is man that has led to their suffering, and all animals are equal. They have to vote whether wild animals are part of them or they are not comrades, and they overwhelmingly vote in favor that wild animals are also comrades. He tells the animals that they shouldn't behave like humans, for example, sleeping in bed, taking alcohol, among others. And he says that a revolution is going to come, but he wants them to be careful because to have a look out on corruption.
Come along and play with us.
So I want us to look at chapter 2. What is in chapter 2? We have looked at what is in chapter 1, and I've tried to analyze chapter 1. So in chapter 2, Old Major dies 3 nights later in early March. So over the next 3 months, his ideas captured the imagination of more intelligent animals on Manor Farm, especially the pigs. So 2 young boars, Napoleon and Snowball, see that they must prepare for the promised rebellion, with a small fat pig named Squealer, who is a brilliant orator and can convince listeners of, you know who an orator is? Someone who can speak and convince someone. Honestly, someone who is good at speech. So he is a brilliant orator and can convince listeners of anything. So they hold secret meetings and develop Old Major's teachings into a system they call animalism. They try to explain the theory to others, but it's slow going. Many animals suggest they owe royalty to Mr. Jones, and others point out that they will starve without Mr. Jones to feed them. So others insist simply that they don't need to care about what might happen long after they are dead. So Molly asks the silliest question, such as if there will be sugar after the rebellion and if she will still be able to wear ribbons in her mane. So Snowball patiently tries to impress upon her that she doesn't need sugar and that the ribbons are a badge of slavery. But Molly seems unconvinced. The pigs also have issues with the tame raven Moses. Though he doesn't work and therefore isn't well liked, he also tells tales about a place called Sugar Candy Mountain. He says that it's a beautiful place where animals go when they die. Many animals believe in Sugar Candy Mountain, and the pigs work hard to convince those believers otherwise. Boxer and Clover, however, prove to be the pigs' best disciples. They are not incredibly intelligent, but they distill the pigs' ideas into simple arguments that they share with the other animals. The rebellion arrives much earlier and happens much more easily than anyone expected. Mr. Jones, in the last few years, began drinking more, so he neglects his animals and property. In June, when the hay is almost ready to cut, Mr. Jones goes to Willingdon, gets extremely drunk, and is gone for a full 24 hours. His lazy farm hands hunt rabbits and don't feed the animals, and when Mr. Jones gets back, he falls right back to sleep. The hungry animals break down the door of the store shed and eat. Mr. Jones wakes up and leads his farm hands in whipping the animals. But the animals revolt and turn on the men. Terrified, the humans race down the drive, and Mr. Jones packs a bag and slips out a back way. The animals slam the gate behind Mr. Jones. So the animals first gallop around the farm and then destroy evidence of Mr. Jones' power. They throw bits, dog chains, and knives down the well, and they burn halters and whips. Snowball even throws the horses' men and tail ribbons into the fire, insisting that ribbons are clothes and the mark of humans. Animals, he suggests, should be naked. And at this, Boxer throws the straw hat he wears in summer and protects his ears from flies on the fire. So Napoleon serves everyone a double ration, and the animals sing Beast of England 7 times and sleep well. So in the morning, the animals all rush to the top of a hill to guard upon the farm. They inspect every building and pasture, ending with the farmhouse. Napoleon and Snowball lead the animals into the house for a tour. They are in awe of the luxury until they realize Molly is missing, but they find her playing with Mrs. Jones' hair ribbons and reprimand her. The animals agree to maintain the farmhouse as a museum. No animal should live there. After breakfast, Snowball and Napoleon call everyone together for an announcement. They reveal that the pigs have been teaching themselves to read and write over the past few months. Everyone watches as Snowball covers up Manor Farm on the gate with Animal Farm. So the farm was initially called Manor Farm, but now it is Animal Farm. Then at the big barn, the pigs explain that they have come up with the 7 commandments, which convey the ideals of animalism. Snowball climbs a ladder and paints the rules on the side of the barn. They read that anyone on 2 legs is an enemy, while anyone on 4 legs or with wings is a friend. So animals shouldn't wear clothes, sleep in bed, drink alcohol, or kill other animals. The final rule is that all animals are equal. Snowball reads it aloud for everyone and then calls everyone for the hay harvest. The cows protest as they haven't been milked. The animals wonder what to do with the milk, but Napoleon gallantly tells everyone not to worry about it. When the animals return that evening from the hay fields, the buckets of milk are gone.
Come along and play with us.
So I want to analyze this chapter 2. The difference between how the pigs begin to think about the revolution and how the other animals think about the revolution again start to show how class will develop on the farm. The pigs are already becoming part of an intellectual class concerned with abstract ideas and education, while the concerns of the masses, or in this case, the lower class, are mostly concerned with making it through the day and don't have the energy to consider the possibility that things will ever get better. As a parallel to the comfortable middle class, Molly's main concern is whether she will be able to maintain her cooperatively decant lifestyle after the rebellion, a lifestyle that Snowball suggests is indicative of Molly having bought into the idea that being enslaved by the upper class and trying to move up is totally fine. So meanwhile, Moses is parallel to organized religion, which in the pig's mind distracts people from thinking about what truly matters. The rebellion of this life, not heaven in the next one, as represented by Sugar Candy Mountain. And one of the most important things to note here is that the rebellion happens when animals use their physical strength as one to overthrow their leader. Something that, unfortunately for those in the lower classes, the animals will go on to forget This event as a whole is a parallel to the Bolshevik Revolution, in which the Red Army, as well as the Tsar Nicholas's own guards, turned on him and ousted him quickly. As in the novel, the revolution grows out to dissatisfaction with the way Tsar Nicholas was running the country. Singing Beast of England here again allows the animals to connect through language. At this point, the song likely has more meaning for more animals, since they now have, in theory, not in practical, in theory, reached the golden time. The song speaks of Boxer's choice to throw his very useful straw hat on the fire, again shows how absolutists the ideology guiding this revolution is, as there is no room for nuance and the possibility that purely useful things should be able to remain. The farmhouse itself is a symbol of totalitarian rule, and it contains all the fruits of Mr. Jones' illegitimately or immorally amassed wealth. The proposal to make it a museum, meanwhile, will in theory offer the animals a touchstone of what not to do, thereby saving them from corruption. The revelation that the pigs taught themselves to read and write throws a wrench in things, as it means that they will be more powerful than the other illiterate animals. Renaming the farm is only the first instance of the pigs literally rewriting history. The 7 commandments encapsulate the idealistic nature of the rebellion, as, in theory at least, they set out the groundwork for the animals to celebrate themselves. Everything that means humans or human, however, leaves little room for animals to advance, given that the novel has already laid out the expectation that an individual becomes more powerful as through literacy, or for one, they effectively become more humans. The missing milk is an early clue, too, that this revolution isn't as rosy as it might seem at first. So that is the analysis of chapter 2.
Come along and play with us.
We have looked at chapter 1 and chapter 2, and I've tried to analyze both chapters. So in our next lesson, we shall be looking at chapter 3 and chapter 4. Remember, we have looked at the biography of the author, we have looked at the plot summary, we have looked at the chapter summaries, that is chapter 1 and 2, and I've tried to analyze them for you. I hope you, as you are also there, you are trying to read the text and you are trying to understand the book. As time goes on, we shall understand the book more. If you keep reading the book, we shall keep understanding the book. So it's still, to summarize everything, we have looked at in chapter 1, Old Major calls a meeting and teaches the animals a song, Beast of England, which they all sing, both literate and illiterate, and he tells them that there is going to be a revolution which is going to free animals from humans, and he says that all animals are equal. So in chapter 2, Old Major dies, however, before the rebellion, but the pigs, Snowball and the other, they carry out the rebellion successfully, and they have made new rules for their farm. For example, they are not supposed to sleep in bed, they are not supposed to behave like humans. So after chasing Mr. Jones out, they decide to keep his house as a museum. You know what a museum is. So, and then the other thing about chapter 2 is they start to harvest because the hay is ready. And the cows, of course, rebel because they have taken a lot of time without being milked. So they milk the cows and the other animals go to work. But then when they come back, the milk is nowhere to be. The milk is nowhere to be seen. We shall see what happens in chapter 3 and chapter 4 in our next lesson. I want you to stay safe. Keep reading the text, Unmoored Farm by George Orwell. Thanks for being good students. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye, children. See you next time. Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye, children. See you next time.